Welcome to r/slash Pettyrevenge, where OP turns her bed mattress into a torture machine. Our next Reddit post is from Timmel. So, I lived in a 2-story family house in my early teens. My family lived downstairs. My mom, my stepdad, and my 3 older brothers. Upstairs lived 2 parents with 4 boys. So, there was a lot of testosterone in the air, to be frank. So, we had to share rooms. The boys shared 2 rooms, and I was stuck in the middle with a very, very small space. While the boys' rooms looked and smelled awful, I made sure to keep my small, personal space very neat and tidy. I also invested in a full TV setup with a quite large TV. I found out that whenever I was away, my brothers would use my room to be disgusting in, as if the rest of the house wasn't enough. They would use my bed, my TV, and my VHS and just lay there jerking off, sweating, smoking, scratching their balls and stuff. So one day I found out that they would also use my room to bring a girl over every once in a while. So I got a thin piece of paper the size of my bed and pushed about 250 flat-headed push pins under it. Then I left for school. Later that day, I got a call from my mom. She had a very hard time trying not to laugh too much while telling me that my one brother had been working hard to get with this girl from school. She knew that my brother was an F-boy, but she decided to give him a shot. The shot was in my room, on my bed, on a needle mattress. No human was harmed, but no one ever used my room after that. My brother says 25 years later, he still checks his chairs to make sure there's no needles in it. Down in the comments, we have this reply from Mad. You pricked the prick that tried pricking his pickle. Well played. Our next Reddit post is from Nandor De Laurentiis. My mother never shared the details of her will with me or anyone in the family. When she died, we all learned that she had made me executor of her will. My 2 brothers were very upset that their little sister, who has an MBA and a solid family life, was picked over them. Neither of them finished college, and one is an invalid who hasn't left the house in years. Mom left her house to the 2 brothers with the instructions that I sell the house valued at around $250K and divide the money between them. All her cash was to be divided between the heirs. Her other property was a small vacation home where her and my dead sister's ashes would be scattered. She left that to me and my dead sister's children. 30 or so years earlier, one of the brothers had told my mom that he wanted to build his own cabin, so she deeded him an adjoining lot. When she died, it was still an empty lot. He convinced one of my nieces to sell him her share of the cabin for $1 and not tell any of the heirs before the paperwork was signed. The only way I found out was because he posted on Facebook, "I'm now a proud partial owner of my family's mountain cabin. According to my lawyer, no one can keep me out of it." We aren't friends on Facebook, but some mutual relatives are, and they alerted me to what happened. In the state we live in, even a fractional ownership allows the partial owners to enter the property anytime without restrictions. There were some very ugly emails between him and my niece when she tried to get the property back. And he admitted that he did this out of spite to hurt me and to make sure my family and I didn't get to enjoy the property. My other brother had emailed my niece several times and told her that he was so proud of her for selling to her uncle and he'd never seen his brother so happy. My mom's will was written so that the estate would retain ownership of all property, including real estate, until the probate process was completed. My brother didn't understand that and thought that he would have immediate ownership. His lawyer didn't read the will very well, and he thought the same thing. The only way to get his share of the cabin away from him was for my niece to refuse her share of the inheritance. Even with that, it cost the $600,000 estate roughly $30,000 in attorney fees to fight this. But we won, and the cabin is safe. The property Mom had given my brother sits directly across from the cabin. Out of spite and anger, he clear-cut the property that my mom had given him and brought in over 100 tons of gravel, so the wooded area now looks like a gravel parking lot. This is directly next to the place where his own mom's and dead sister's ashes are scattered. The brothers had asked for the 3 burial plots next to my dad. They adored and idolized him. My mom's remains are scattered at the cabin, so she won't be using them. So I gave my brothers the cemetery plot paperwork. But before probate ended, I had the plots put in my name and they're legally mine now. The paperwork they have is worthless, but they don't know it yet. I didn't tell my brothers, and they won't find out until one of them dies and they can't be buried next to Dad. Honestly, I know that Dad wouldn't have approved of what they did. He loved my mom, and he would be upset that her ashes are scattered next to a gravel-covered lot, not the woods that she loved. I haven't told my brothers what I've done. Screw them! They wasted money from her estate and made Mom's resting place look horrible. They don't deserve to be buried next to Dad. OP, what you should do is bury your brothers in the gravel parking lot. Our next Reddit post is from Illuminatus Prime. My ex cheated on me and emptied our joint bank accounts before serving me with divorce papers. So I signed the house over to her, and I made sure that the turnover was stated in the divorce decree as a settlement in lieu of alimony, and I sent a copy of the divorce decree to the mortgage lender along with a signed and notarized quitclaim of the house, which absolved me of any further responsibility for maintaining the mortgage payments on a house that I no longer owned and in which I no longer lived. All of this was perfectly legal. Less than a year later, my ex-wife suddenly realized that she was solely responsible for maintaining the mortgage payments when the lender foreclosed on the house. I know it's not very petty, but it was sweet, sweet revenge. Wait, so she expected you to give her the house and then for you to make the mortgage payments on it? What a doofus. Our next Reddit post is from Original Deadly Sin. Back in 2002, I lived in a duplex. The people in the other half of the duplex complained to the landlord all the time for nothing. As in, I was once woken up at 2 a.m. by my landlord calling to say the neighbors reported me having a crazy loud party and keeping them awake. I was sleeping. I was alone. There were no lights on. There was nothing making noise. Well, I do snore. Basically, my neighbor complained about both petty and made-up things constantly. So on this property was a shed with a landlord-supplied electric lawnmower. I mowed my half of the lawn one day and thought, what the hell, I'll do their half too. However, the cord didn't reach to their whole yard from my outlet, so I plugged into their outlet for the last 10% of their side of the lawn. The next day, that neighbor threw a fit at me because I used her electricity. A long, loud fit. I pretty much just shook my head, threw my hands up, and walked away from it. I used pennies of your electricity to mow your lawn. I don't even expect gratitude. It's a small, unasked favor, but why bite my head off over it? The next day, she got someone to install those clear boxes over her 2 outside outlets with padlocks on them. Clearly, this was a normal response. The petty revenge begins here. I take a gander when she's not home, and those locks are clearly the cheapest locks they could find at Walmart. I go to Walmart and buy 2 identical ones. They're like $6. One of my hobbies is lockpicking. I'm absolutely not a master, I'm probably not even good, but I sure as heck can open the cheapest padlocks ever made in seconds. I replace her locks with mine. They look exactly the same. It took a few weeks, but looking out my window one day to see her with an overgrown lawn and hearing her futilely slamming a hammer against those clear boxes for half an hour made all the frustration worthwhile. Next time, just shut up and take the favor. I like this top reply from Sarah Phillip. You should have called the landlord to complain about the hammering and say that she's tearing up the duplex with a hammer. In fact, I'm watching her beat on the electric outlets right now. Our next Reddit post is from Necessary Equal. Back in school, a handful of students, including myself, missed a major test due to extracurriculars. The teacher already arranged for us to take the test in a back room during regular class session. There was this one guy, Eric, who was a typical F-boy who behaved like he was all that and a bag of chips. Rude, obnoxious, and didn't once talk to me. Until that hour in the testing room. Back in school, I was mostly quiet. If resting B-word face was a thing back then, I would have been the poster child for it. I was known to be a bit nerdy, so it wasn't a surprise when this guy sat next to me, chatting it up. He went on to tell me about how I looked like I could be a Victoria's Secret model, and I was one of the prettiest girls in school, and blah blah blah. He then asked if he could copy my answers. I smiled and said, "Tee-hee, sure. Give me a few minutes and I'll show you my answer sheet." He grinned and twirled around in his seat, fidgeting with his pencil, making absolutely no effort to take the test. I look up and whisper, "I'm done. Hurry up and copy." With no hesitation, he hurriedly copies my work. I told him to turn in his answers first so it wouldn't be suspicious. He did. As he was leaving, he did a weird salute and laughed at the other students still taking the exam. As soon as the door shut, I erased the answers I gave him and filled in the correct answers. I turned in my own work shortly after. The teacher said that she would take a week to grade them. During that week, Eric didn't say a word to me. When he did look in my direction, he would elbow his friends to laugh at me. I couldn't wait until he got his results. The day finally came. The teacher handed us back our graded tests, and the way he stood up shocked, shouting, "An F?" and ran over to see my A+ grade was just, mwah, chef's kiss. He definitely stopped laughing at me after that. Down in the comments, we have this reply from Unicatcher. I actually encourage my students to do that. We had a prolific cheater one year who was so bad that I had to level up my strategies. I told the class, with the teacher in the room, that if they thought somebody was copying, to write the most ridiculous wrong answer and let them copy. This cheater actually wrote the answer, purple dinosaur, in response to a math question, and her fate was sealed. In the end, with help from the above evidence, we got the cheater the academic help she needed, but was consistently denied. Our next Reddit post is from Mayu Mochi. I'm a 22-year-old woman, and I work at an amusement park during the summer holidays to make some extra cash on the side. My job role involves checking people's tickets, placing them onto the ride, checking some safety restraints, and watching over the ride in case of an emergency. While I was checking safety restraints, I noticed that one of the customers had stolen my water bottle. This male customer stole my water bottle and passed it to his wife, who then gave it to their child daughter. I briefly noticed it happen out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what came over me. I guess I was just tired due to having to deal with countless tired, exhausted, and cranky guests. And I thought that the family needed to learn a lesson to not steal people's water bottles. I walked up to the man and told him that he shouldn't have stolen it. He looked panicked and apologized and asked if I wanted it back. I declined and said that, for your information, I have mouth herpes before showing him a mouth ulcer I had. Not from herpes, but from accidentally biting my mouth while eating. He looked panicked and then told his wife, who broke down sobbing, and she called me a butthole. Whenever I tell my friends and family about this, they all seem rather split. Some of my friends thought that it was a really funny prank to pull, while a lot of others and my family think that while the family was in the wrong to steal my property in broad daylight, I shouldn't have given the family such a scare for a serious disease. Also, for clarity, this is a $10 refillable water bottle, not a $1 disposable water bottle. Also, OP explains that her water bottle has a very unique design, so there's no way that he accidentally thought that it was his. Yo, forget the whole disease angle, that's bad enough. But who in their right mind would give a mysterious liquid to a child? Yeah, maybe it's water, it could be, but who knows? Could be vodka. Maybe OP has a crippling alcohol addiction and they give their 3-year-old, hard liquor. OP, I wouldn't sweat it. The mom and dad in this story are both idiots and they deserve what was coming to them. Our next Reddit post is from Butterfly. I'm currently benefiting from some petty revenge. Basically, the management company for the apartment complex passed over the woman who had been working there for 25 years for a new guy who doesn't know his butt from his elbow. He's one of those Neanderthal types with vacant eyes and his mouth always hanging slightly open. So this lovely woman, who still works there, now decides that her precious mission to save the company money is fruitless, because she will never gain the compensation that she had hoped for. So suddenly, after I made my 4th complaint about my dishwasher, she just ordered me a new one. AC unit not working well? Let's get you a brand new, more efficient one. One button on your microwave stopped working? Here's a brand new one. It is great, and I bet they're regretting passing over her now, lol. That was r/Pettyrevenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.